Hello, we're going to start using the joystick to make some games. Now the joystick is located right here on your sense hat. Now you can press up, down, left, right, and you can press it in the middle and then it will press down. And your sense hat will be sensing all of those directions. Now for me, since you can't see me push this up and down, since this is just on a screen, I will be using these buttons right here to simulate actually pushing this joystick. So you're not going to have these buttons. You're just going to have this sense hat. So when I press up, that means you press up here. So now we got to understand how the sense hat senses what's going on. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what to type in. So if keep in mind that, of course, you're going to say from sense underscore hat. But in the past, we've been saying import sense hat. Now we're going to put a little star there because we're going to import more than just sense hat. We're going to import everything that sense hat has, and we need that in order to use the joystick. So make sure that first line looks just as it is here, but you're going to have hat instead of EMU because I'm using the emulator. All right, so now what we can do is try to get the joystick to say what's happening. So if I have, we can save it as a variable. E is equal to sense.stick dot wait for event. Now if I say that and I just say print E, let's see what happens. I can run it, and now if I press up, this is what I get. It says input, the input event, it timestamps it, so it gives it some time that occurred. It tells us that the direction was up since I pressed up, and the action is pressed. So, and then once I do it once, it's done. Now, when we're playing a game, we just don't want to do it once. We want to do this a lot. So we're going to say while true. And what while true does is it's an infinite loop that just keeps on looping back around. And I'm going to highlight those and press tab. So now, if I hit run, if I press up, notice I press it for just a short period of time, really quickly, and first it says I pressed it, and then I held it, and then I released it. So there's three actions that come out of a button. You can set something, like something happens when we press it, something happens when we hold it, and something happens when we release it. And that happens with all the buttons. Oops. Uh, so for each of the buttons, you can press and release them. And you can see the direction is changing, but the action is not. So that's great. Um, but we want an event to just happen in a particular situation. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using a definition. And so throughout this lesson, when we make our coin game, what we're going to do is we're going to define wait for move. We're just going to make a definition that's just waiting for something to happen. And while we're doing this, we're going to do a while true. And we don't want to print the E. What we want to do is we will only want to see what happens when we're holding it and when we're pressing it. We don't want to capture any releasing it, or else we'll every time we press it, it would move twice. So I'd say if E dot action. So if the action associated with that event uh, is or is not equal to, not equal is the exclamation mark and equal. If it's not equal to action released, then instead of printing it, we want to return it. Now we haven't done much with returning values and functions, but what that means is in this function, it just takes E and brings it back to wherever we need it. So this is our setup for our joystick, and we'll be using this throughout this lesson.